back, my warriors, to World of Tanks. In this replay, I'm going to be showing you how to kill the AMX 40. So, grab your shotguns and get ready. We're going duck hunting, boys! Alright. So, first off, I'm going to show you its strengths, weaknesses, and the overall general view. Let's take a look at what we've got. We've got 300 hit points for a light tank, with a weight load of 21.86, 25.23, limits, and engine power 190 with a top speed of 50 kilometers an hour, if it will ever see 50 kilometers an hour. This thing is slow! I mean, jeez, when I ran this thing, I thought I was doing great until all the heavy tanks started passing me. What heavy tanks? This is a low-tier tank. Why, I'm glad you mentioned that. The DW2 and the B1. Those things can outspeed you, and you're supposed to be their eyes. Alright, let's get back on track. What else do we see? A traverse speed of 30 degrees a second. It can be a little slow at times, but then again, when you're bouncing around like crazy, you have all the time in the world. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Hull armor. We've got 70 millimeters of hull in the front, and with these angles, look at those angles. It's all round. Why do you think it's called the duck? Look at that. Quack, quack, quack. Quack, 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 quack. It's a duck! There's no flat part on this except for the treads. But then looky here. You've got nothing but spaced armor right there. You've got the tracks. You've got armor about that far between. You've got 65 armor on the side, which, again, look at how rounded that is. Not a straight spot on it. You've got 40 in the rear, so mental note, don't show them your tail feathers. Okay, turret armor. You've got 80 in the front and 60 everywhere else, with the exception of your crown. And then you've got, I'm not even sure, you've got this. A giant, hey, shoot me here sign! Alright, let's see, what else do we got? Standard shell damage, 83 to 138. Not bad. And this tank, sitting in the battle, properly angled, bouncing rounds like crazy, you can definitely pop those rounds out. Standard shell penetration, 56 to 93. And with the tiers you're going to be seeing, tiers 3, 4, and 5, maybe a few 6s if you don't get lucky, you will definitely be able to pin quite a few of the enemy. Rate of fire, almost 10, 9.68 rounds a minute. So yeah, you can definitely do your fair share. Turret traverse speed, 26. So add that on top of the traverse speed, you've almost got 50, you've got about 56 degrees of turret traverse if you sit still and spin. View range, 340. Not bad for a scout. Now if only you could do the proper scouting role and get in the front lines. Signal range, 360. Alright, that's the static stats. Just a mental note from my part. Once you get to the battle with this thing, your view range is going to be enough to actually help support tanks, and you're going to be able to do your job, if they survive by the time you get there. Okay, that's enough for the garage. Let's get to it and see what this baby can do. And it looks like my lovely assistant has forgot to completely upgrade for this video. Good job. Squirrel moment! Okay, now, after that squirrel moment, I want to just show you a little example. This AMX 40 is doing a grand total of 18 kilometers an hour. That PZ1C is doing approximately, 43, 42, 44. This thing is a little slow. It says it can do 50 kilometers an hour, but 20 kilometers an hour is as fast as it can go in open fields. Now, let's go ahead and get to the killing, shall we? Now, this PZ1C has a small machine gun to it. Point blank range. Ow! Here is the turret traverse on this thing. Point blank range, what can this thing do from the direct back?
Der ging nicht durch. Der ist abgeprallt.
Well, as we see from the deck,
Der ging nicht durch.
the duck is laughing.
Wir haben sie nicht mal angekratzt.
That was my head!
Wir haben sie nicht mal angekratzt.
Now, the duck, fully upgraded, has about a 6-7 second reload. 6.7 is what I currently have at a 75% crew. The PZ-1C continues at point-blank range to shoot from the back. Let's go ahead and get a few frontal shots. If you notice, from a point-blank rear shot, this thing
Wir haben sie nicht mal angekratzt.
can't even pin.
Wir haben sie nicht mal angekratzt.
Now, let's get a few side shots, a few front shots. Just go around and let's see what this thing can do. Now, remember that hull armor? 70 millimeters in the front, all angles.
Der ging nicht durch. Wir haben sie nicht mal angekratzt. Der ging nicht durch. Abpraller.
Again, nothing. So, how to attack this thing with the PZ-1C? My suggestion? Run! Run away as fast as you can! Even ramming will not hurt this thing very much. You will be throwing your life away. You might get lucky, you might get a few shots. Now, let's take a look and see how well the AMX does against the enemy. PZ-1C is able to run around and shoot, but as you notice, the turret traverse, standing still, is able to keep up and hurt the PZ-1C. I got a good shot there and tracked him and killed him. Now, what do we have here? We have an M3 Lee with the 75mm gun that does an average of 92 penetration. So from the front, like I said before, we have 70mm of armor, but it is extremely angled. Let's see what happens with a static front shot.
That one bounced.
I repeat, that one bounced. Okay, ow. So, as you noticed,
That one bounced.
the turret and a little bit of the front,
That one didn't go through.
got one good shot there. Let's take one more shot, and
We didn't even scratch
so,
them.
direct shot, straight front on front.
That one didn't go through.
The Lee can't pin. Let's see what happens if we angle ourselves a little bit. Well, if the Lee could hit.
Ricochet.
The lightly armored sides bounced off one, got a good hit on the front.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
So, with the AMX 40 versus a Lee with a 76mm gun, 75mm gun, excuse me, you have the ability to bounce quite a few of his shots. If he gets a couple of good shots in, you're dead still. Now, let's go ahead and break down what we did. From the angles that we were able to see and from the shots we were able to hit, shooting at the main part of the front deck or the front armor, you could not pin. You were mostly bouncing. Where were we able to hit? If you go down a little bit, the flat part on the lower glacis, you were able to pin because it's flat. It's the only flat part on the front of the tank, with the exception of the driver's hatch, or as I like to call on a lot of the other tanks like the M6, the Russian tanks, the mail slot, because that's the best delivery system, is through the mail. And let's go ahead and take a few shots and just see what happens. Let's aim for the mail slot.
That one didn't go through.
It bounced.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Mail delivered. So, rain, snow, sleet, shine, everything, the mail will be delivered. Once in a while. Let's aim for the lower glacis and see what we get.
We didn't penetrate their armor. Enemy armor is hit.
Now again, straight flat. Let's go ahead and angle ourselves at somewhat of a 45-degree angle.
We didn't even scratch them.
The front did not pin, it bounced.
We didn't penetrate their armor.
Another bounce,
We didn't even scratch
and it looks
them.
like the spaced armor and the treads are doing their job. But the front is weak in the right spot. You can still pin it. So let's go ahead and break it down. What just happened? Facing it from the front with the 75mm of the Lee, you were able to shoot and pin in the mail slot, as I call it, or accurately stated, the driver's viewports. But do note, that first shot bounced off the top. So it does have armor to bounce a 75mm round, so you don't have to be afraid. Where it pinned was the actual viewport itself, that opening that the driver sees out of. Everything off the main body bounced. Where it got pinned through was this part here. So what can be said for this tank? Hold down. Make sure you hide this lower glossus. If you're a high-tier German player, you'll already be thinking of that. But as a low-tier French, you're not thinking of hiding your lower plate. That may come into play later on, depending on your preferences. At an angle, we were still able to pin this flat part at the extreme edge. We were not able to pin the spaced armor behind the treads. We were bouncing off the sides. Even though it only has 65 hull armor on the side, it's rounded, which gives you a greater defense, a more ability to bounce. The turret, it's one giant round dome with certain exceptions to small parts. You can aim for those, but with the accuracy nerfs and a lot of inaccurate guns, you may not hit that. So center of mass is where you're going to more commonly be thinking of shooting. So center of mass, driver's hatch, you'll have a pretty decent shot, but that was at 100 meters away. Longer distance, you're going to have more difficulty to aim, more difficulty to hit. So the best place, lower glossus, driver's viewports, and if you see people with bigger guns, you might want to just stay in the rear. Other than that, I hope this has been a good lesson for you, and I hope this has taught you how to face the duck. Bring a shotgun and get the boats ready, boys! Kapla s'ouvre.